Are you familiar with John Vervaeke?
No.
He used to work at the University of Toronto, like across from like Jordan Peterson. But he talks about this stuff at length. He has a lecture series called Awakening from the Meaning Crisis on YouTube. And everyone that I've shown it to or has independently found it, we've all kind of like converged around this topic. It's because even you were using the words like how you relate you and the world, like that's he calls that like participatory knowing. So he says that there are like four different kinds of knowing. There's propositional,
Okay.
which is that something is the case, like 2 + 2 = 4. And then the second one is like procedural, like how to ride a bike or how to sing. And then third is perspectival. So you know how something feels like. You know how it felt to be 10 and in school. You can like remember it. It's like episodic memory. And then the fourth one is like participatory knowing, which is what the thing that you said reminded me of that because it's the kind of knowing where how to properly relate to your environment, to what degree you should be. It's a very like Taoist thing. Yeah. But continue.
I love frameworks, and I'm just wanting to make sure I
Yeah.
understand the distinctions.
The 4 Ps of knowing.
Yeah. Procedural seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
What was the example for the third and the fourth? Perspectival and
Perspectival is you know what it's like
Oh,
to
that's right.
be a certain way. You know what it's like to be 10 years old in school.
It's almost like epiphenomenological.
That sounds
like,
right. He says
you understand-
episodic memory.
Okay.
You know what yesterday when you had dinner on the balcony, how that felt like and who was around and something like that.
Reminded of, there's the word qualia that's
Mhm.
talked about in psychology and psychedelics of
Mhm.
the unit of experience, and there's certain elements of those units, certain qualities. So we might be able to talk about a birthday party at
Mhm.
3 years old, but
You're gonna
by
experience it.
sharing it, I'm like by speaking about it, I'm automatically flattening it, generalizing it, like cutting out so
You're
many
getting to the
things.
gist of it.
No, what I'm saying is that I'm removing so many elements that you would actually experience
Yeah.
when you're in the moment as compared to me.
Yeah. Because you experience it in high resolution, but when you're conveying it, you're only saying it
Yeah.
in low resolution unless you're like some poet. Or maybe when we have like BCIs or something, I can send you some qualia.
Yeah. Increasing the resolution of
Yeah.
what can be shared.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one way to look at any form of conveyance. If I write you a letter and I'm across seas, I'm trying to convey certain
Thoughts and feelings.
elements of experiences to you.
Yeah.
But it's low resolution. I hop on a phone call. You can start to hear there's this
video
spectrum.
call, higher.
Yeah.
In person, highest.
Yeah. And we would talk about that for sales, that you could do some written text, that level 1, you could hop on the phone, that's level 2, and then you could in person, that's level 3.
Have you done, oh yeah, you said you did sales before.
Phone sales and door to door.
What was the first one?
Phone
sales.
Yeah.
Same.
Nice.
Door to door. I don't know if I did that. You're not
pretty,
Mormon, are you?
You don't know if you've done that? You'd be pretty clear.
I mean, no,
have
but like,
you knocked on people's door and tried to sell them anything?
Okay, I was thinking, would real estate count? What if they're coming
you're going door to door? No, it's when you're like door to door. Typically is when you're actively going out to cold leads who don't know who you are.
Just random ass houses. What are you selling? I
was selling Vivint home security systems.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And then I was selling solar panels.
Okay, I don't think I've done door. No,
it's pretty wild.
It's pretty brutal.
First get into it. It's a challenge.
Because when you go, this is what I've learned. When you approach someone, they're automatically on guard.
Yeah.
They're like,
yeah,
what the fuck's this
What are you doing at my door?
Exactly. But then I've learned psychologically when people come to you, like there's a totally different psychological thing that goes on when you're approaching versus when you're being approached. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially with women.
Women.
You have a guy
you don't need to tell
at the
me.
door, and there's a woman opening the door, and they're like,
Okay.
Who are you? What are you? A
Yeah.
lot of natural, instinctual,
100%
and women generally
more
have
neurotic. Like,
yeah, exactly. They have a kind of survival bias of
yeah.
saying
Humans.
I should be on threat detection mode to a
Yeah.
certain
Close
degree
up.
to make sure
Yeah.
I'm safe.
Yeah.
So they're always looking for what could go wrong. Even because part of that too is with kids. Like if they need to be aware of
Yeah.
threats so that they're keeping the kids safe.
Yeah.
Even if it's just the kids themselves, like playing around with a knife or something. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
it's
you said that you have a brother and a sister?
two sisters, older and a younger brother.
Yeah. Okay. So you know how sisters are. Yeah.
Yeah. So circling back, participatory. What was
That
be an
one's a little
example for that one?
maybe it's like surfing or like rock climbing are good. Is it right to say analogy or metaphor? I forgot. My grammar teacher would get mad at me.
I'm not sure. What's your
Read.
preference?
Those are good
I love
analogies.
from I think it's Thor. No, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Thor, I believe it's him. He says all words are made up.
Yeah, you told me that too. Yeah.
It's just there's something so funny about that.
Yeah. I guess it's because we're doing a podcast where I feel like I need to be like extra. I don't know.
This reminds me of when I was
Go ahead.
reading a book, Building a Second Brain. Like
Is that Tiago?
Obsidian. Yeah, exactly.
Obsidian?
Yeah.
Okay.
And a cool little framework or formula was that knowledge, like, why do we want knowledge? Knowledge is for the sake of informing action that gets a desired result.
Yeah.
And this also ties back with a big identity umbrella. Jordan Peterson, I like the way he speaks towards it in terms of talking about how essentially our brain is a goal striving machine. And so we have a goal, we have a map of how we perceive the world, where we are now, and that gap. A is where we are now, B is where we want to go. And our brain helps us closing that gap, navigating through it. And what was I linking this back to? I'm talking about participatory. I blanked.
Participatory knowing, identity. Talking about Jordan Peterson. Yeah, I prefer Vervaeke, but obviously Jordan was formative at a certain time. But I do like how they talk about these like cognitive scientists, behavior psychologist people, or clinical psychologists, how they relate things back to like how the mind works in practice. Because are you familiar with David Deutsch?
I've
Like
heard
The
that
Beginning of
name.
Infinity.
What was it?
The book is called The Beginning of Infinity. It's a highly
I've heard of it, but I haven't read it.
okay. But basically, in The Beginning of Infinity is a very influential book, and it's very propositional though. So then I always, every now and then, every few months, I always go back to Vervaeke, which I'm doing now because he talks about the ones below and just how the mind works in practice is very interesting and also practical because and even there's this one girl that's in they call them the critical rationalists, which are like followers of David Deutsch and Karl Popper and these like influential philosopher scientist figures. And there's this one girl, her name is Luli Tannett, and the thing I love about her is that she ties all these like very propositional scientific philosophical ideas, but she bridges them with like psychology, consciousness sort of realm. And that brings me into the Vervaeke Peterson sphere.
How do you spell Vervaeke?
Vervaeke.
I almost found the golden thread back to my fallen off train of thought. It was something about the Tiago knowledge, action, results, but
Yeah.
couldn't remember prior to that.
What
We were talking about
what
door and women and threats.
it's okay.
Yeah.
I could stitch this together.
It's like the fun game for me to be like,
Okay.
what was it? But
We're making a
continue
mind
on.
map.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
exploring the idea maze.
Yeah.
I like how, at least for me, I love like with any creative space or process, I like making things like as low stakes as possible. So like we can say whatever. Also, oh yeah, I wanted to make it clear that I will always show you what I want to post before posting anything.
Cool.
And you also have, it's your conversation just as much as it's mine. So we have total creative control
Yeah. Sweet.
in terms of the content. Yeah. Just so that you feel comfortable saying whatever.
Yeah.
I could say fuck, shit, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And anything can be edited out. Yeah. So Tiago Forte, what desired results do you want? Is it the only thing I know about you is you're waiting a week for this trainer thing, but is there anything beyond that or like in the short to medium term that you're thinking of?
Yeah. One thing I'm going to bring up in the final interview is, and what a question I was asked in the second interview was, why are you so committed to this role in NS? And a word that comes to mind is alignment. And
that's great.
in 2017, after graduating from college, I wanted to start my own business, and I got a mission statement. I wrote it down, and I was like, what is the guiding force, the soul song inside of me that's seeking expression? And it's a little bit of a process. It's not just like you asked it in my experience and that it comes overnight. It was more of sitting
it
with
unfolds.
it. Yeah, and letting it marinate and reflecting back on life experiences to discern what that pattern is, what that directionality is. And once that directionality is picked up, then you get a finer and finer understanding of it, putting attention towards that question, that contemplation. And for me, it took the form of the sentence to inspire and curate the evolution of mankind.
Inspire and
Curate
the evolution. Can you talk about that?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like that sounds a little like eugenics program.
The visual for me,
is it when you were like
you can lead a horse to water,
okay,
but you can't make it drink.
Yeah.
And I experienced in sales the frustration of trying to get someone a positive result and having them
fumble the bag or not drink?
Yeah,
Even though you knew
they have fears around it, they have hesitations.
I would probably just like double click on those for them. Did you do that?
What do you mean double click on them?
If you brought a horse to water, so to speak, in sales, and then they were still hesitating to quote unquote drink the water because of inner conflicts and fears, did you talk to them about those fears? And
it's even like that. It's even being able to identify them, being able to talk about them. Sometimes it can be triggering and people don't want to bring stuff up.
That's true.
So it's understanding that whole process, and I was learning about it through all the sales experience. You were mentioning something that reminded me for my experience of sales is applied psychology. It's figuring out what actually worked in terms of understanding psychology to get this desired result.
Framing, yeah. Applied psychology. What do you think about the moral aspect of sales? Because sometimes people, and I sometimes feel this way, it can feel, and I've done sales myself, it can feel sleazy or like it has this negative connotation to it. And yeah, what do you think about that?
I think that, just write a note, I think that when your product or service is able to help them grow,
help them solve a problem.
Yeah. Help them solve a meaningful problem, that there is a type of moral obligation to be really good at facilitating that growth.
I haven't thought of it like that. Like it can actually be a moral obligation to bring to them this product or service and make them aware of it. Bring awareness to it. Bring awareness to a solution. Because if they didn't know about it, I guess if you bring it to a personal note, it could be like those types of moments where you're like, I wish I knew about this. Or, I didn't know I needed this.
Exactly. And that you're touching also right there for me on the marketing side, where you get the message out to start the conversation. So people don't even, it's like they talk about problem unaware, problem aware, solution unaware, solution aware. There's a spectrum, the stages that you can move customers through, and you can categorize them.
Gotta give me those frameworks.
Yeah, and categorize them through that spectrum. And the whole
The
point,
classic 2x2 matrix.
yeah, the whole point of the sales process is to smoothly move. Marketing would be bringing attention to it, and sales is getting them to
Close.
Yeah, it's the closing. It's getting them to actually take action, decide. That's a key word in sales, because that route of cutting off, they're basically entertaining options, and one option is do nothing. And that's what they've been doing typically. Or maybe they've been doing suboptimal decisions, plans, strategies, tools.
Yeah, what
to get
gets someone to? Can you talk more about what? Because yeah, in life you have options. You know, and obviously one of the options is do nothing. But what gets someone to actually make the action, pick a choice?
I love the visual that if you look at all the world religions, they're all different facets of the crystal mountain.
The crystal mountain. What's that?
It's a mountain that approaches the truth.
Is it the image? Is there an image of it?
It's a poetic
Oh,
visual
okay.
that speaks to
I want the crystal
some-
mountain on my wall.
Yeah,
I don't even know what it looks like,
I
but
know.
I like it.
Yeah. And let me write this down as a golden thread.
Okay.
Crystal mountain.
Sounds like a nice drum.
In it, I'm reminded of a really epic piece of music in the Hall of the Mountain King.
Classical?
Dun, dun, dun,
Nice.
dun, dun, like that. So great.
Yeah.
So the crystal mountain, it's crystal because there's many facets. And when you look at one facet, just like that letter writing about the party, you're automatically having some form of limitation because you're coming from a relative perspective. And the top of the crystal mountain is the absolute. There's no relative.
It reminds me of like the Eye of Horus on the pyramid.
Yeah, so
It's all symbolism.
there's two dimensions of reality, we might say, the absolute and the relative. And science deals with the relative.
Really?
Spirituality points towards the absolute.
I like that word.
Yeah, everything's a reflection of the absolute. Everything.
Everything's a facet of the absolute, but you never can quite capture the absolute. It's like you can forever fall into it. It's not fully. You can't be like omniscient about it.
The Buddha,
Or can you? The
we
Buddha
can,
what?
from the sources that I value and appreciate, and I think are onto something, it's that we can know the absolute, but it's through our core essence, which is fundamentally linked or is consubstantial. Same
What's that word?
substance. It's a word they use in Catholicism. Consubstantial with the Father is how they say what Jesus was. Jesus was consubstantial. He was the same substance. He was of the same quintessence.
Quintessence.
Which just means
Sounds like the
core.
So name your son that. Quinn for sure.
Quinn. Be a cool long and
A
short.
long short. Quintessence.
I don't think I know Quinn, but I knew the last name. Tom Quinn. Yeah. So absolutely, the crystal mountain is the tip, which can never be truly reached from a relative perspective. It's and it also you can actually invert it, right? Where it becomes
So like a heaven and
something
hell
that you can
thing.
fall infinitely into. There was a great book I read from Deirdre Caribbean. She's an Irish philosopher that goes into negative philosophy. So there's affirmative theology that describes what God is. And then there's
Sounds propositional.
negative philosophy, which says what God is not.
Oh.
And so that's the yin and yang of attempting to linguistically
Capture.
envelop God.
Envelop.
The reason why I'm so kinesthetic when I talk and think, like I'm very visual and kinesthetic, and I'm drawing upon a story that I've
It's like Italians.
heard. Which one?
They talk with their hands, Italians.
Yeah, I'm part Italian.
Yeah. And apparently it helps you express.
It does for me Because right there, I was fumbling with the word, but I
Yeah.
knew it was that.
Because your cognition is also embodied.
Exactly.
So when you use your body, it probably helps.
Exactly. And there's energetic patterns through words. So envelop is this type of energetic pattern. And visually, I was linking it back to it's either, I think it's Sumerian creation myth, where you have the dragon Tiamat, which has a symbolic connection with chaos. And forgot the name of the solar god figure in it. I think it's a Ahura Mazda. I think that's a different one. His great accomplishment was that he was able to wrap a net
Around Tiamat?
around Tiamat. So he was able to like linguistically contain and envelop and control and bring order to that chaos. I'm not sure why I was bringing up the envelope. I was talking about Deidre Carabate. Oh, we were talking about enveloping God by using both the yin and yang of affirmative theology and negation, negative theology.
So what did she say that God wasn't? I heard a good line today about God. Someone was saying, God is to God, God is to the world as the mind is to the body.
What do you like about that?
I like the parallel. It doesn't like fully click with me, or I don't know. People, they say no two people use the same English. So it depends on what they meant by God, but I take God symbolically, not literally. At least that helps me to have an unconflicted theory regarding science, and I don't want to throw away the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to religion. Yeah, that helps me.
That's a nice segue to return back to the Crystal Mountain to fully explain. Part of it is if you look at all the world religions, they're essentially fingers pointing towards the absolute. And there's different levels for each religion. You can have level 1, which is very rudimentary and very dogmatic, because they're just like that letter talking about the party, they're collapsing so much resolution. The aperture gets so small because they're speaking towards level 1 development people, like a child or something. And so there's a lot of symbolism. There's a lot of flattening of concepts that are involved and get to be built up to have a much higher resolution, broader aperture understanding of what's going on. So what's cool is as you go up in most all religions, as you go higher, deeper into the esoteric, you can think about it as height and as coming into the center, exoteric being outside and lower, esoteric being more inwards towards the core and higher towards the summit.
Okay.
And as you start to go deeper in each religion, higher on the Crystal Mountain, what happens is they start to converge. They start to sound a lot similar.
Oh, you mean the religions?
Exactly.
Okay.
So all the esoteric religions, when you go to them, you're like, oh, wait, these are sounding a lot more similar than their
absolutely.
outward facing, more dogmatic expressions.
Yeah.
And that was the pattern that I appreciated.
Me, I would always use the analogy of like different languages. Like it's like they're all speaking different languages, but they're all saying the same word. I don't know or what's the Spanish word for cup? Do you know?
Beza? Maybe?
Sure. So it's like if you're a Spanish person and you were saying beza and I was saying cup, but we're referring to the same thing, it just sounds different. It's like using a different language.
Now I'm curious what beza means because I have no clue.
Yeah,
I'm so curious. I'll
we're just
check
going
it
with
later.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Spanish people are like, what the fuck is this guy saying?
So the falling into, I'll just come back to that. You brought that up. That's why I was bringing up Deirdre Carabine. She was linking, I think it was Moses. She was talking about, she's covering the early Christian fathers and the ways that they were describing God. And I think it was related to his experience with the burning bush. And I don't know what text it was drawing it from, but that he described the feeling of approaching that summit, that core essence that is God, that is the absolute mode aspect of reality.
Okay.
That it felt like he was getting towards the edge of a cliff that has an infinite depth to it.
Mm.
It's a canyon. That
I like that phrasing. What it sounds like this. Was it Moses?
I believe so.
Oh, as he was approaching the burning bush,
It was
he had this
in
feeling
that
like
experience, of
in that
communion
scene.
with God, of starting to approach that core absolute nature.
He felt like he was
reality.
overlooking an infinite depth.
He felt like he was
cliff.
approaching and about to fall into. And that's the sense, is like
That's pretty cool imagery.
we lose ourself. We lose our relative self. And the relative mind, the ego, has this fear, and it wants to cling to that and not really let it go and fall in.
Yeah, I think
And
it's
the ego death that's related to this, of you need to fully let go to have this phoenix rebirth occur.
I don't think you need to. I don't. I think it seems foolish to fully let go all or like extremely fast. But I liked what you were saying about like an infinite depth, because that's how I feel about, or that's what I've been learning from Vervaeke about love. So like when you love someone, it's like when you're falling in love with something or someone, it's like you're mutually disclosing parts of yourself. And this also goes back to like the Gottman Institute or something about like relationships. Like we're always in relationship to something or someone, right? When you like disclose something, like you open up, and then someone else can open up, and then it's like you just keep opening up and mutual opening, and you fall into the depths. But it's not, you're like, you fall into the depths of the reality of the situation, or I feel like I'm not describing it as well as I'd like.
Yeah,
But you kind of get what I'm saying?
topics get, again, you're trying to wrap that like
No, but I don't even know.
I know, it's like you feel it, right? It's like this
But
thing where
we're
you're like,
digging.
what's there? Yeah. And this is that fun dance of trying to figure out, how do I wrap a linguistic net around this and actually describe.
But I don't even know the quality that I'm trying to describe.
I know. That's the thing. That's the
I'm
thing with
co-exploring it with you.
one of the other fun,
That's what I love about conversations.
yeah. One of the other fun symbolic connections to Tiamat for me, I would put, is the Nightmare King from.
I'm going to turn on the aircon.
Go for it.
I think it's on. No, it's not. It's not on. Okay, Tiamat, the Nightmare King. Is this another symbol or part of a myth story?
It's from Nemo, this movie.
Yeah. That's my favorite childhood movie.
Really?
Yeah.
So,
Finding Nemo?
No.
Okay, what's Nemo?
Nemo is about this little boy who goes to bed and is awoken by these creatures that are visiting, and all of a sudden he flies away on his bed. He enters into a different land.
Would you like some water?
Sure.
Okay.
Like Dorothy when she gets swept up in the hurricane and arrives in a different land. Alice in Wonderland when she tumbles down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's always interesting to find like common tropes. Or also, it applies also to music. I like putting salt in my water for electrolytes. Would you like some?
Sure. Sounds great.
Okay, I'll put like the same amount. Because even in music is like a timeless thing, but like often you'll see modernizations through sampling, or you'll do like a modern cover of something. Like people always love hearing the timeless, or experiencing the timeless and the timely. And yeah, of course.
I like those words. That's an interesting
Framing.
complementary words, the timeless and the timely.
I was just thinking about the timeless because we were talking about something, and something about I sometimes I think in non-temporal in a non-temporal way. Imagine that we're in like year zero. There is no like BC, AD, but what we we use time as like a measurement tool for transformations.
100%.
But there is no, even in a scientific sense, as far as I know, and like the deepest theories we have about, they call it like the many worlds. If you're familiar, like interpretation.
So I'm like multiverse. What can you elaborate?
Multiverse stuff. apparently it's oh fuck, it's above my pay grade.
Just riff, just cook.
Okay. So it's like the multiverse is like a static object, but because we have limited consciousness, we experience it through time. So it's, and this also goes to like dimensions and stuff. Because if you have if you have a fourth dimensional object moving through a 3-dimensional space or something, you would see like a basketball like just appear and then disappear.
Yeah.
And somehow that connects to like how we experience. It's almost they used an analogy of a film reel. Like a film reel is a static. It's not. It's a fixed
The
object.
whole movie can sit on a table.
Exactly. The whole movie is there, but then it's playing. But you only see at that 2-dimensional like mark, where it's passing through. That's the time part. It's we're recognizing and we're creating stories about the causal relationships and the transformations that take place. But in fact, as far as we know, the object itself is a static, or it's like you said, it could just sit there. It's already all there. I don't know. I'd want to learn more about this stuff, so I don't feel ignorant about it. 'Cause I don't know. I don't like speaking from places of low confidence.
Yeah. Yeah. I love using certain ways of talking about things to kind of lessen that. If I'm talking about an idea, rather than talk about it from the place of it's my idea and I develop a sense of attachment to it. And then if someone challenges it, I'm like, oh, or maybe I'm like, oh, maybe I didn't say it right. And now I feel weird about the quality of expressing that idea. It's like, more of here's this idea that I learned from someone else. And it's
Mhm.
like an object now. And it's not me.
No, I wasn't attaching it to myself. I just didn't want to. I don't.
No,
I don't want to spread anything that's not true,
yeah.
and I don't know if it's.
I'm just extending what I said to even in this moment of framing it as like you did, of saying, I might not fully get this right, but here's my shot. Trying to point to an idea and you're saying, I might not point very well to this, but here's my attempt to point to it.
Yeah, and I just want
And
to
it
talk
like
about
takes
it
so much pressure off when I talk like that.
for
When I'm
sure.
like, here's an idea that this person put on my table. And I'm going to try to point to this idea. I might not do very good. It's just like describing the process. I'm reminded of how I was going to bring up the amygdala, the Nightmare Kings, how we envelop something with linguistic net and it gives us a sense of control and it actually limits that chaotic force. We've wrapped up this Tiamat dragon in the net. So we've constrained it. It's not unconstrained and
We got
infinite.
specific about it.
Yeah, we've actually
Okay.
constrained it.
We've articulated.
Yeah. And there's a quote from Yoda. Names must
Name must
fear before banished.
Could you?
Yeah,
Classic.
and this one, applied psychology, this one hit me so deep when I used it on the doors, door to door. Powerful technique. It's so simple and the effects seem magical. That's why it left such a big impression on me. We use labeling. So we identify. And for me, sales is a game of figuring out the chessboard or the battleship board of the other person. Seek first to understand, then seek to be understood. So sales benefits a lot from that principle, effective sales. The best salesmen are the ones who have a deep understanding of their target customer.
How would you do this online? Because you've done sales over the phone, which is pretty high bandwidth. And I agree because I've also done it. And then door-to-door sales is even more high bandwidth. But on the internet, like you were saying, it's just like an email is pretty low res. How would you do it there? How would you try and understand your customer, if you will, or like your target audience if you wanted to release a song or something?
It's having a clear target avatar, an ideal client, and then there's also segmentation. So you might have multiple. And so it's being able to actually figure out what the different archetypes, the different avatar archetypes are. Maybe you have 3. For example, let's bring up ATG, knees over toes. It's something that helps people with fitness. You might have a budding new athlete You might have pro athletes. You might have grandparents that are like 80 years old. You might have people that just retired. So there's certain distinct archetypal avatars
Your different ICPs.
that emerge
Yeah.
when you start to look at the entire set of the customer bases who can benefit from it. And it's solving the same meta problem of increasing one's fitness, mobility, etc. But those values will be spoken to and marketed in terms of the context of that avatar. So for the grandparents, you'd say, hey, you're going to be able to squat down and hold your baby and like your grandkids.
Yeah, you want to make it relevant to them.
And so it's the same solution. It's the same solution.
I was like, why is this noise? Same solution.
But you're conveying the value of this solution in terms of the worldview, the context of that specific avatar. One name I love for this is resonance marketing or resonance sales. You want to come into a sympathetic resonance with that person's context and life and identity.
How would you
problem solution set?
How would you resonate if you have like these 5 different profiles, and do you have one united front that tries to speak to all of them, or would you have different fronts for all the different?
That's what's cool nowadays, is that because of the different tools we have, we can start to have more personalized marketing and finer segmentation. If we're doing all that groundwork manually, it becomes very hard to have that. So if we think about the scope, the temporal scope of the resonance, back in the day, it was just this big blast marketing saying, this product is good for everyone, go buy it. It wasn't very specific and
that's
personalized.
That's what I don't.
It's increased over time.
It's increased in the personalization, yeah. Because I like that more, where you're being like considerate to the people that would. I don't like the idea of blasting and like having. I don't want people to be bothered by some communication that isn't relevant to them. I want everyone that receives it to be. I don't want to create any dissonance.
Dissonance in the form of,
let's say that you're trying to bring awareness to this ATG program, and you're, instead of resonating with any of those 5 archetypes, you end up hitting this unintended 6th archetype. I don't know, swimmers or musicians, and they just don't give a damn. And they're like, nope. They're like, I don't know. It just creates more noise and not signal. What comes to mind when I say that?
strategy, infinite options, finite resources. It's kind of like supply demand. Like there's infinite ways that we could tailor our marketing and personalize it, or infinite target audiences we could go after, but we don't have infinite resources to allocate across a moment of time. We have to choose. We have to
That brings back to
decide, cut off some of those infinite options and say, I'm going to double down on this. I'm going to focus on this. And we can increase our scope, but there's a limitation to it. And that's where priorities come in, which is back to Jordan Peterson's idea of a value hierarchy. The reason we have a value hierarchy is because there has to be something at the top. There has to be a priority, and you can't have multiple priorities, because then,
by definition,
you
can have you can have a handful, but not like
tiers.
Yeah.
So the point is, like, that value hierarchy, that's an inherent part of consciousness, where we have to focus in on what we're perceiving and what we're sending out.
It's an inherent part of consciousness. Yeah, like you bias your attention.
Basically saying the relative world is not, we're experiencing, like you said, with the film analogy.
Yeah.
There's a limitation of our metabolism of reality, our ability to process. And
I like that word.
Yeah. It's kind of like cognition is like a metabolism.
Yeah.
You can't broaden our cognitive metabolism infinitely, we actually have a bandwidth, and we have to choose.
We have constraints.
We have
It's
constraints.
like a stoic locus of control. Are you familiar with that concept? Like,
No.
it's just what you control and what you don't. And
Oh,
the Stoics
okay.
just always,
Okay.
they just always
Locus
reminded
of
people,
agency.
yeah, sure, use whatever phrase.
Maybe that's a different one that I'm thinking of, but I hear what you're saying with the locus of control.
Yeah, and I liked what you were saying about you have infinite choice, but you have constraints on the current resources at hand, at play. Yeah. And that can, I always say to myself, like, constraints catalyze. So
They do.
So if you have an extremely if you have 100 colors on your color palette, it can be paralyzing to start painting. But if you have two, that might be a lot easier.
Yeah.
It's like the paradox of choice sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that even applies to like startups and businesses. If you are like low on runway for your startup, then that forces you to make certain decisions that you wouldn't have otherwise made if you were it's like big tech versus little tech. It constrains you, but that constraint doesn't automatically mean bad. It just means you have a different set of options before you. You're playing with a different hand. So you play obviously if you have different cards, you play it differently. What for you is in your value hierarchy? What's up? What are your priorities?
Truth is really high
I can
for
tell you
me.
mine too,
Yeah.
but go for it.
Truth is really high for me.
Truth.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I'd be working with my brother doing door to door for solar
How long were you doing that?
just over 2 years.
This was before you came to NS?
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. Okay, cool.
And
Truth.
it's funny because I was in the room with him and our big boss manager, Ayo.
Kaio.
Yeah. Brazilian, cool guy, great guy. And two of my roommates, us three. And they were like, I know what motivates you and you, talking to my roommates. And then both of them, my brother and Kaya, were like, we don't know what motivates you.
What motivated them?
It was like money and cars or partying, like this type of very rudimentary, like post college kids type of motivators. And I was a little frustrated and a little surprised. I was like, I thought my brother would at least, he's pretty perceptive. He's pretty emotionally attuned. He's very smart.
How old is he?
20, he's 7 or 8. He was 1997.
Oh, okay.
So
That's
he,
27, turning 28.
okay.
Yeah, that's the same age as my sister.
Okay. And I'm 31. And so it was funny. Just I was like waiting for an answer because I love increasing self-awareness. And I think we can do it through others reflecting back things that can be in blind spots or we have a degree of blindness to, increasing our resolution. So I was really excited to hear something that would have helped me expand my self-awareness. And he's like, I don't have anything for you. I'm like, what? And when I talked to my dad about it, he brought that up. It's truth. You have a really strong motivation towards truth.
Me too.
And it's related to authenticity, I think. I have a great value towards authenticity. So those
authenticity, yeah, it's very related, but it's just it's like truth, but through a person. Because someone might not know the truth, but everyone can be wrong. But as long as they're being honest about what they think is true, that's the virtue that matters to you, I'm guessing. Is like, you never want someone to not give you their best judgment on the situation or their best read.
There's certain qualities that accompany people that will be more in a more harmonious relationship with truth. They don't need to have the perfect grasp on it because no one can. It's like the top of the mountain. It's this infinitely unfolding thing of what is the truth. Like we increase our resolution of it. So there's distortion that can occur, but there's also just the limitation of that aperture. So we can expand it, but it is an infinite ladder. So even as we become the most aware person on earth of what the truth is, we still have an infinite gap that we can fill in of greater
It's really
degrees.
funny how You're coming at it from like the spiritual angle, which I've also explored, but I've just been more steeped in the philosophical science. I think, yeah, philosophy probably bridges both worlds, but like the scientific worldview of it, and they use the same language. The book, The Beginning of Infinity, like we are always at the beginning. And even if you look at the history of science, like Newton had the best theory at the time, and then Einstein broke it, and then quantum mechanics broke it. So it's like our theories are always fallible. They can always be wrong, and we cannot predict the growth of knowledge, or like what, in a grand sense, like whatever our deepest theories about reality are, but also in an everyday sense, because you don't even know what you'll think up tomorrow. Like you can't predict the future. You can't predict like your own creativity. So yeah, it's interesting. It's funny and interesting how the language is very similar.
What we were talking about reminds me of something I heard from Jordan Peterson that I absolutely loved in regard.
Bros always talking. It always ends to Jordan.
He's got some
funny.
good stuff.
He's got good stuff.
Yeah. I definitely don't agree with everything, but he's got a high hit rate for me
Yeah, it's got good
of
stuff.
stuff that I reference. Our openness to self-correction is related to the degree to which we will experience self-deception. I'll say it again because it's like a trippy thing. Our openness to self-correction of our models of reality, of what we believe to be true, of all these different things of, I'm sure it would probably cut across those 4 levels of knowing: propositional, procedural, perspectival, and participatory. Maybe no. Those are newer to me, so I don't have that full
It's all right.
grasp in this. But basically saying we have a model of reality, and if we are too attached to
Our previous model.
its static nature, and we don't let it breathe and dynamically evolve,
Yeah.
then we pretty much guarantee that we're going to be deceiving ourselves. We're going to have blind spots, and that we're not actually going to be open to upgrading it.
Yeah.
So it's this.
And it's also easier said than done, because I feel like, at least for me, or maybe it's like I like the feeling of thinking that I know.
It's one of the basic human needs, is this feeling that we have like control and that we know what's going on.
I love control.
Certainty.
Yeah. Certainty is what I love. Is what I chase. It's an addiction, but I never quite get it, because what I've been learning is like the future is open ended, and things are unpredictable. That doesn't need to trigger your amygdala or whatever. It just means that there's a mystery. There's an unfolding occurring at every moment. But it's fucking frustrating. I want to know.
Yeah.
It's when I was a kid, like when I was like 13 or 14, I basically pulled a Descartes, and I was like trying to find certainty, and I couldn't find it, and I just had an existential crisis. And now I've become better at, it's almost 10 years now from there, and I've become better at dealing with uncertainty, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
Because it's a fear thing. I'm afraid that, I don't know, I'll be wrong, or I don't know if that's true. So there's some ingredient of fear in the mix that I think might have triggered that desire to seek certainty. But you also value the truth. Do you have that same problem where you seek certainty in an uncertain world?
There's a lot of really interesting
Okay.
branching out from this.
What's new? We can also talk about flow, the flow state, because I was learning today, or reminded again, how the flow state is actually, it's a state that that your mind is in when it's picking up on, because correlation is not causation, but when you're in the flow state, it's like your mind is picking up on causal patterns, important causal patterns in reality. And so your brain like rewards you, because it's like whatever you're learning and whatever you're experiencing right now, keep doing it, because it's very relevant to you, and you're participating in it in the right way. And it reminds me, because like the original author or whatever, like Csikszentmihalyi, the first 3 known flow triggers were like clear goals, immediate feedback and challenge skills balance. But there are also some other, I don't know, sub triggers, like error needs to matter. Like it's an important, it's something, whatever you're doing, it's like,
Stakes.
yeah, there are stakes. You can also get into flow state, the flow state also when you're like being playful and it's low stakes, but yeah.
I think stakes as the meta, if you try to put an umbrella that includes the playfulness, it's just that it's meaningful. It's important. There's a sense of emotional,
You care.
high emotional valence or
Mhm.
charge.
Have
And
you
that
seen
can
that?
come from playfulness, but that can also come from like consequences. It's just, I see that as there's the stick.
Yeah, carrot.
Stakes seems like that you're basically seeing you
It's an important
think of the
problem.
stakes word as associated with the stick, and you're like, what about the carrot? And that's playfulness. So
Wait, stakes and stick. Yeah, I agree.
the only reason
If there are stakes, that means that error matters, meaning that if you make an error, bad things will happen.
yeah, so it's the yin and yang of emotional motivation, of charge. Those are the two fundamental forces of motivation.
Pain and pleasure, carrot and stick.
Yeah.
Okay. How did we get there?
Talking about flow states.
Yeah. Oh, have you seen that like chart where like it's like flows in the middle? It's like a channel, and then you have like bored and anxious.
Yeah, I was just talking about it today, actually. Yeah.
Really?
It's flows one of the most, remember like what I was saying earlier is what I finally settled on is like the hub was consciousness, and flow is so
Such a
closely
important
adjacent.
like piece of the puzzle.
Yeah. Flow is essentially the study of a certain,
It's also how to live,
certain
I feel.
quality of consciousness, a certain flow of
It's a state of
consciousness.
consciousness, yeah. A state of mind.
I wouldn't even say state, because it's almost
It's
like
the flux. It's
a
not
certain
state implies a static.
Yeah, it's a certain movement,
It's a relationship. It's a
dynamic. It's a
yeah.
dynamic. It's a certain dynamic relationship
It's a
to
tight coupling of,
environment.
and it's in a line with like your most important values, I feel, because that's where the stakes come in. Or that's the importance. If it wasn't important to you, it wouldn't invoke an emotional charge or a state of mind. But if something's resonating with the things that are extremely important to you and you prioritize, you're gonna pay attention. It's gonna matter to you. Error is going to matter. Yeah.
I think the place from which we have the highest degree of freedom of action for movement is stillness, because that is the only place where there is no momentum,
Yeah.
there is no inertia, there is no bias, there is no expectation. It's like the word
You're both coming full circle, flexible in your choice of movement.
see what I'm getting at? And that's where,
What are we relating this to again?
this is a fractal pattern. You can relate this to a lot of things. You can relate this to a warrior. They need to cultivate the sense of connection to stillness within them. And that's when they're undisturbed in the battlefield. That warrior is the scariest one out there. So he can't be disturbed. He's forged a connection, a yoga, a union, a communion with this still center that allows him to have the greatest degrees of freedom of action. So it's like Bruce Lee, I think he appreciated this concept a lot, where he studied a lot of Taoism and the idea of connecting to the source and hacking away at the unessential and being still to clear the mind so that it reacts with the most appropriate action. And there's this famous scene in a movie where he's like, throw a kick. And why didn't you throw the kick that way? And the apprentice is like, I think, and he slaps him. He's like, don't think, feel. And it, for me, points to this idea of you got to just connect to the very center and then have this pure, raw type of
Branching
feeling
out.
of the context of the moment, where you don't have any bias, you don't have any trajectory that you've already committed to and have an expectancy bias to say, a great example too, a quarterback deciding who he's going to throw the ball to before the play starts. So he's getting ready
He's
to
already
say
priming
hike,
himself
and I'll throw it to the receiver on the left.
because to play.
Well, no, the idea is there's going to be multiple options in any given play. They'll say, hey, let's do a red 21 play. Like they have a playbook and everyone knows, okay, I know my route. But if the quarterback were to decide who he's going to throw it to before the play actually, then he's actually limited himself of what might be the most appropriate action in the moment that arises as the play unfolds.
Because you don't even know what the opponent's play is going to be, which will affect the success and the options.
So we can have certain models that get higher and higher fidelity predictions. And this is like what they do in poker. This is why they study for football or any sport game footage, is they're trying to pick up on patterns that allow them to predict so they can make the most appropriate actions in the moment. But my point is, in addition to any form of the loading phase, which is part of flow states where you load the pattern recognition, in addition to that is just being present in the moment and not attached to any preconceived plan or expectant that might actually limit you from the appropriate action. So it's hype. And then it's the flow state is all about bringing your awareness into the present moment. And if the quarterback is attached to an expectancy or the idea that I'm going to throw it to that receiver because he'll be open, and they're covered with 3 guys, he's just cut himself off to actually the pure awareness, the receiving the data and moving from that still place where there's no bias, there's no expectancy, there's no inertia. So it's a little tricky to describe.
It reminds me of, I totally get it. And it reminds me of music or like comedy improv or whatnot. It also reminds me of like how even like founders or whatever, like how they operate day to day. It's like you could have a prediction, but every day it's a course correction. It's like, no, we're day 1 again. It's the new play. But also like in music, I've seen people get really stiff. Remember our last concert? I think some people got really stiff because they had this preconceived notion and they didn't know how to flow with it.
Yeah.
And they tripped themselves up. But if you know how to flow with things or in improv, like you said, let's say that someone else is talking or in a conversation, like someone else is talking and you have this idea of how you're going to take it, but then they take it in another direction, but you weren't in the right state to receive that and work with it, then your thing just totally you were off on some other plot line in the improv scene. And then, I'm preaching to the choir here.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And it's funny because while I'm listening to you speak, the idea that I had in my mind that I was trying to just bookmark of, okay,
and we can still bring it back.
When he's done talking, let me share this, was the idea that a lot of people have the habit, and it's to be on a spectrum of to what degree do you do this? Do I do this? Of waiting for the other person to finish speaking so that I can finally say an idea that came up earlier in the conversation.
And I think that's fine. It's okay to do, it's good to do what you want, but I would say you want it to, I think that what comes higher or more important than that is the harmony or the flow of the conversation. You don't want to break it just to put your thing in.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
But you can find a different route to it and everyone gets what they want. Everyone can get what they need and want. Yeah. Is it coming up on your bedtime?
Yeah. Rick Rubin, that's a book that I'd love to read. I saw my brother have it on his bookshelf. I love the look of it too. It's got one of the fundamental symbols from Taoism.
What's a record?
Man, it's multiple things.
Okay, yeah, that's what symbols are.
See, you just enveloped it right there. That was a cool example.
But tell me more about the symbols.
I said it's this thing, and then you're like, it's this thing. It's like that collapsing. It's like the quantum, the idea of the collapsing the quantum wave function, where it's this wave particle duality. It's in this superposition, and then once we look at it, once we create a linguistic envelope for it through our attention, we collapse it into a thing.
Yeah. So someone
a record. I'm like, that's one of the things.
Okay. You could tell me more about this Tao, or was it Buddhist or Taoist symbol?
The Taoist. It's a universal symbol.
You mean it's a circle with a circle?
It is present in Taoism.
Okay. I haven't seen that one in
It's
depth.
a universal symbol called the circumpunct, with puncts meaning punctuation, like the dot, and then circum, like circumscribe. So it's a dot that has been circumscribed.
Mm.
And the circle is esoterically, it's ancient symbol for spirit, for the divine, for the transcendent. One of the reasons why it's such an appropriate symbol is because what we talked about with pi and how there's no circle in real life. What I mean by real life is the relative world.
Because the definition of a circle is this
It's an object where it's got every point is equidistant from the center. And that doesn't exist in the relative world because
a true circle is perfect.
I never got back to this.
And perfection is an asymptote.
Yes. The relative world is an asymptote that approaches perfection, which is transcendent, is how I would word it.
Sure.
Yeah. So the one thing I did not add in for that visual of this cosmos being this unfolding, evolving radio system or set of mirrors. So I'll go back to the mirrors here. Is that if you take the way that we typically hear what a circle or pi, or